my friends, good afternoon. And it's another Friday. Can you believe it? It was literally yesterday. It seemed like it was Friday last week. Don't forget, I'm going to remind you until we all remember, it's Separation Friday. What do champions do? We distance ourselves on Friday. So let's go make that one more call, make that one more effort, make that one more text, because that's what we do, right? Hey, today, I'm excited. I'm excited every guest we have. I mentioned this a week or so ago. I'm blessed to have had some great guests in the past and some awesome guests coming up. But I've followed Jim Webb, our guest today, for some time. We followed each other back and forth on social media, and I love the vision, the inspiration, the motivation. And Jim's just a good old school, new school combination guy like I am, and he's a coach and a sales trainer. And hey, you're gonna love Jim. It's gonna be a great conversation. My friend and buddy Wes that directs this show and produces this show. I texted him yesterday as soon as Jim and I got done talking. And said, I can't wait. Let's just do this now. That's how excited I was about this conversation. So we're going to be right back in about, 15 seconds or so. Don't go away. And we're going to have a great talk with my friend Jim. There he is.
Hey.
What's going on, my friend, from beautiful College Station, Texas?
There you go, man. It's absolutely a pleasure to be on here with you, Randy. I enjoyed our talk yesterday as well, and thank you for the good things that you said about me. I'm not.
Well, I read them all just the way you told me. So
there you go, and I did send them over to you in large font so you could see it well.
Perfect. I did not want to mess up. So well, good. So Jim, before we get started, tell us a little bit about who is Jim Webb. So for anybody that doesn't know you yet, obviously we established you from College Station. Technically, Brian, if I remember our conversation, which is, if I remember right across the street from College Station, where Texas A&M is. So another great college town. So you give us a little bit of who Jim Webb is.
Well, I live in College Station, Texas, and that's Twin Cities with Brian, Texas, and the home of Texas A&M. You know, Randy, you can't hardly separate from me the word sales, because that's what I've done for since 1984. Got out of the banking industry. I wanted to get into something where didn't have my income capped, and so I got into the insurance business, and been in two industries. Worked for a couple of different organizations over the last almost 40 years, and I am a coach, I think, by nature, just because I enjoy helping people, and if they want help, and I enjoy sales. I've studied it and been a student of sales and leadership for the entire 40 years, and it's really if you think that things are still the same, then you're not studying very hard, because one of the things for sure, if you're going to stay up to date in business, you've got to stay on top of it and continue to study it. And if you're going to coach people, you really have to do that as well. So I've spent the last 40 years in sales and in business. I am married and been married for 42 years to the same woman. She's kept me the entire time. We have two daughters, and both of them are in this area, Houston, College Station area. And I've got 4 grandkids, son-in-law. And so family man, salesman. How's that?
Love it. Hey, and I love your, we established yesterday that we're both in that same age group. And so we've been doing this thing for like forever. Yeah. And that's one of the things I want to talk about in just a second, is you hit on about change and how things don't stay the same and some of those things. But your business, let's get that out here in front in case anybody wants to Google you or look you up while we're talking. It's XP2 Enterprises. Is that correct?
That's it. I started in business, one of the first things that I noticed is Well, I think I mentioned to you, even before I got into sales, I happened to get involved with some network marketing. And the best thing that ever happened to me with that was being exposed to positive thinking and the Zig Ziglars of the world and the Norman Vincent Peales and those kind of people. So when I got on into sales, I started noticing that, man, people just had a horrible attitude. And we talked about this yesterday.
Mhm.
You know, you get started in a day. What is your expectation? I mean, are you expecting to get hung up on, or are you expecting for you to have some positive interaction with people? And I noticed that expectations weren't a big deal, or expecting positive things wasn't rampant in business. And I just came up with this expect to win thing. It went right along with my Christian beliefs. You know, you have faith, and you just approach life that way. And I've just carried that expect to win, and then kind of morphed that into the XP2. And that's the XP2 Enterprises is based on the expect to win philosophy and mindset that I've had in the organizations that I've worked in and built. So um, that's the XP2 Enterprises. You know, as far as what we do there, we've got a couple of different divisions. We've got the financial services division, but the thing that my passion is to make an impact. Randy, I want to make an impact. You know, business and sales is not easy, and it's not easy to carry along a I don't even know if there's such thing as a balanced life, but to carry on a life with a family and trying to do things the right way. And so the way I want to give back is by making an impact. And if I can help someone not trip along the way and trip in the places that I have by pouring into them, then hey, that's what I want to do. So that's the Expect to Win Enterprises. You know, it's business and life coaching. Um, and kind of a one-on-one type thing. You know, if someone wants a free coaching session with me, all they got to do is go to the website, and there's a button sits there, and you just click on it, and we'll set up something, and we'll talk. So
That's awesome, and I love that XP2 and the expect to win. A good brother and buddy of mine, Barry Brockstrom, just popped up there. Great concept, expect to win. Now, thanks,
right,
Barry, for being here, my brother. But he's right on. It's amazing. It's amazing for guys like you and I, and Barry's one of those too. That when you don't expect to win, when you let's put it this way, guys like us that expect to win, it's hard to understand the concept that people out there actually don't expect to win. I mean, they get up every day and I don't know what they expect. I guess if you don't expect to win, I guess you're accepting that you're probably going to lose. I guess is the
well,
opposite direction, right?
and I think that you have to define what the word win means. I mean,
Exactly.
um, winning isn't always about um, winning the game or making the sale or but it's about doing the very best you can. And you know, you approach the day and you say, you know, you say that, you know, this is what I've got to get done. And then you know that you're going to do everything you can to get that done. And you're going to do the very best you can. When I first got into business, I had a gentleman tell me that if I would do things the way that he said, then he assured me I'd be able to lay my head on the pillow at night and sleep with a clear conscience that I had done the right things during the day to support my family. And basically, what I found out is that was about activity mostly in sales. It was about you know, we used to we were out making calls. We'd carry so many business cards in our pocket, and it didn't matter what happened during the day. We didn't quit till those business cards were gone. And that was kind of the expect to win part of it. I'm going to get that done. When I put those in there, I'm not thinking it's all right if I go home with 5 or 6. No, I'm going to give those all out because I'm going to give it all the effort that I can. And that's the expect to win. But you're right. There's people that expectations are it's a foreign concept. It's like they just kind of take the day and whatever comes along. is just what they accept. And I've never been able to function that way. And I don't think that it fits with the philosophy of expecting to win. An expectation of, you got to set an expectation of especially if you're in leadership, you set an expectation of what you want from the people that you're leading as well as yourself, and then that's what you do every day is to achieve that. So
Exactly. So a lot of this falls back on that big M word, right? Mindset. What is your mindset every day, every week, every month,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely. Well, mindset is. I'm not for sure that there's anything. Well, I don't know that mindset's the most important, but I'm not sure there's anything more important than mindset when it comes to um, life, especially business as part of life. My daughter used to have when she was a teenager, she used to have a little sticky note that she had on her mirror, and it said that it's your choice today. You can have a good or a bad attitude. And even for a teenage kid, it's very important mindset. I have a kind of a philosophy that I teach and a process, and the first part of that process for being successful in business is mindset. And I think that uh, I think it's intentional. I don't think that you have a good mindset or a good attitude by just winging it and just hoping that it happens. I think you have to have, um, whether it be, well, I think you have to start the mornings to get that mindset in place so that when you hit, if it's a workplace or your business or you're on the road, in fact, if you're on the road, it's probably more important than anything, is that when you hit the ground running, that your mindset's in the right place. And it's and the thing about it is, Randy, you can someone that doesn't have a good mindset and they run their life based on negativity. You can see that almost in their body language, um, and how they conduct themselves. You don't even have to hear or know much about them because that's the way it works. But mindset. One of the reasons why it takes so much attention is that if you just kind of let the world absorb into you like a sponge, what are you going to get today? Man, turn on the news. It'll make you want to slit your throat in about 30 seconds.
Exactly.
And you've got to police that and police your mind, what goes in, what you read, what you listen to, who you pay attention to. So much it takes a lot of work, uh, and I enjoy it. Now I don't know about you. I think you're the same way because as I pay attention and follow you on social media, I know that you are tied into the Gittimers, as we talked yesterday, and the people that pour positivity into the world, and that's what you have to do. Yeah, and it's a choice. Uh, and mindset. If you do, I don't know how you can be successful if a positive mindset is not a target. So
Exactly. So, so we fully agree on that. Now, the question I have is, and I made a note yesterday when we was chatting, is some people just don't have it maybe at all for some reason, or we all can fall victim to that day, right? That just
sure,
that day or that week. So what do we do about that? I don't, because I know this is something you coach. How do we get ourselves back up, pull ourselves up by the bootstraps? Even let's assume that most people that are going to watch this show over the next several weeks and months and sound bites are probably, if they're watching something like this, they probably got a pretty decent mindset, or
sure.
they wouldn't be doing it anyway. But when we have that bad day, that bad week, that bad month, how do we overcome that?
Well, it's even bad moments. I mean, you have a prospect that you expected to say yes, and he said no. And if you allow that kooky little voice in your head to have its way, all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, the whole world's now coming to an end because he said no. I think that, and that's a fantastic question. I posted today something about this being Friday, and that it's a great day for reflection. It's a great day to reassess, to assess what went on. But here's the only problem with that is how do you assess unless you are keeping up with what you're doing, that you have systems in place to be able to keep up with what you did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So if I find myself and I realize that my mind is I've let something get inside my head. Most of the time, we know what it is. I think most of us, if we're honest, we know what's happened. And I think that we just have to reassess. We have to kind of stop and say, okay, now I'm having a pity party, or I'm having, as Zig Ziglar would say, stinking thinking. What's happened? Did I stop listening to the good stuff and start turning on the news talk radio? Did I have I started starting my day with the news instead of reading something inspirational or going for a walk? I think you have to look at what I've allowed to happen, especially if it's a situation where your mindset's been pretty good. Now all of a sudden you're finding yourself in a bad space. Now, if you're just trying to gain a positive mindset, you're just wanting to change your life because it's not been anything you've ever concentrated on. The very first thing you start with in my success with people and myself is that what are you doing when you get out of bed in the morning? How do you start your day? Are you thankful? I don't believe there's any way that our minds can be full of gratitude and also be full of negativity. So that's one of the very first clues that maybe the first thing we need to start with every day is gratitude. Being grateful for what we have, whether we can smell the hot coffee or had a warm bed or but you start with that gratitude and then you find something inspirational, and that's different for all of us. I know people that don't like to read. So to ask them to read 10 pages of a book is kind of like, it's like scratching the chalkboard. That's not something they want to do, but maybe they'll listen to a book, or maybe they'll listen to a podcast, or maybe they'll get on this Clubhouse app and listen to a good positive room that's going on at the time. But it's finding those ways to get started, because we all have bad days. Mm-hmm. I have lots of them. If my wife is watching this, that's one of the things we talked about earlier. It's always funny to listen to my wife after she hears me talking. It's like, wait a minute, you didn't mention this, and this. Well, no, I don't. I don't want to mention all that, so we don't want her in here. But I have my bad days. We all have them. And it's just about reassessing what changed. What did I allow to happen? So that would be my first thing.
When you can't allow a bad day, because I think you dead nuts on right there, Jim. No matter how positive we are, no matter how engaged we are with our day, no matter how good our mindset is, how many disciplines we put in place to stay in line. Because I'm a big believer in discipline versus motivation, because I say this all the time. I'm as motivated as they get, but I'll screw off if you give me 2 seconds to do it, right? It just happens. So you got to have the disciplines in place to continue or to get to that goal. But I think it's ultra important, and I think you just said is to be sure to catch yourself before that small loss of okay, I lost that sale, or this guy's not going to buy. But you can't allow that to take over the next sales call, or the rest of the day,
Sure.
or God forbid, the rest of the week or month or year, right? So I think you hit on it, is you really have to put some things into place and maybe discipline your own mind. Maybe, I don't know if I'm on the right target there, but to say, look, I recognize I'm going in a bad spot right now. I need to go kick the dog and
Yeah.
hit my fist against the wall. Let's get it out of the way,
Right.
right? But we got to move on, right?
Well, I'll give you tell you a little bit about an experience that I had about 14, 15 years ago. I achieved probably the biggest goal that I had, and I wanted to get into ownership in my own car dealership, and I achieved that. And it was a great time. We were excited about it. We made a lot of changes and moved and those kind of things. So, I've always been very goal oriented, and but we moved, and some things happened over about a 6-month period of time that led us to making the decision that we had to remove ourselves from that situation. It ruined us financially at the time. But the biggest thing that it did to me was, at a time in my life when I thought I was bulletproof, is it led me to a really dark place mentally. The doubt was huge. The fear was huge. Now I wouldn't admit that to you, but I knew it internally. I would today. I wouldn't have then.
Right.
And I realized that over about a year or two period of time, is that what had happened to me was that negative situation became the story that I was repeating over and over and over and over in my head. And there's people that let that happen. Maybe it's not that big of an experience, but maybe it's a month or two bad months as a salesperson, and now all of a sudden, 2 months back to back, that's who they are in their mind. And you've got to catch that, because you just mentioned that you catch it. You catch it before you go there, because if you don't catch those feelings, then what happens, as it did with me, is it just keeps taking you down and down and down, and to where it's almost like redoing the entire deal. Fortunately, in my situation, I had a lot of support, and with some work and jumping back into the reading the good things and the positive things, and realizing that failure is not who I am. It was what happened. Okay. And I learned a lot from that failure. I learned that blame and shame don't get you anywhere, either one. Feeling shamed of what maybe I did, or what blame for what they didn't get me anywhere. So what I had to do is be honest and move forward. And so I would say that anybody that's having some really tough times with their mindset, the main thing they need to do is is just be honest with themselves and determine, am I telling a story? Have I let a story of negativity become who I am? And if that's the case, then it's just about feeding your mind with the good things. Having gratitude for what you have, but also sometimes we get to beating ourselves up so much. I had a leader one time told me, said, if you just put the 2x4 down and get a blade of grass, and quit hitting yourself over the head with the 2x4, and just slap yourself around with that blade of grass every once in a while, will do. And that's what we do. We get pretty brutal with ourselves, and that just takes a toll on our mindset. And so I think that we have to give ourselves credit for what we have done, and then keep moving forward, and make sure that we're feeding our mind with the good things. I had lost that, because hey, if you get lazy, your mind gets lazy. The next thing you know, you just, you're just taking whatever. But you got to protect your mind. You have to protect what goes in, and so that you don't lose control of that. That little voice in your head, he gets them Popeye arms every once in a while. He gets pretty strong, and I don't know about you, but he does in my head anyway. And
Well, they
I have to
can.
run him off.
Exactly. And kind of what you're saying, I'm picking up on is and some from our chat yesterday is we people by nature are very habitual, right?
Yep.
And so you tend to go to what your habits are, right? So if your habits are, if you allow your habits to become negative, and that's why I think when you talk about how you got to grab this quickly, because today being in a bad mood because of something happened probably won't hurt me. But if I do it tomorrow and then the next day, you follow any theories you want. I always like the theory, and 21 days makes a habit, 90 days makes a lifestyle, right?
Correct.
Well, you get that. You just use that as a number. You get that 21 days in of being negative. Yeah, you're pretty well negative. Before long, if you don't catch it, you're just a negative person. Literally, that's your lifestyle, right?
And
So,
and if they begin to know you for that, people around you begin to know it, makes it even harder to break. I've been around performance organizations all of my life. I mean, I've never mainly it's been salespeople, agents, reps, and that kind of thing. And one of the things that I've always talked about is that if you go to work at an 8 to 5 job and you're collecting a salary and you're just punching a clock, you can go to work every day and have a bad outlook on life. It'll catch up with you somewhere down the road, but it's going to be a while. And you can probably keep punching that and just getting by, collecting your check and moving on. But when you're in a performance business or if you're working with people, you can't get by with that. You People will see through that. They'll see the negativity, and people do business with people they like and trust. Well, they won't like you, and probably won't trust you. And so, as a person that's been in that kind of environment, um, I think that's been a blessing to me because it's made me realize that negativity will not work. That if you find yourself getting in that space, then it just doesn't work. But the next part of the process that I use for success is getting the skills necessary also to do very well in what you do. Well, the reason I put mindset before skills is because those skills are going to take a lot of disciplines to learn. Without that good mindset, I've found out that most people will not acquire those disciplines and skills. So now, if you let your mindset get out of control, the next thing you know, you're not even acquiring the skills to be good at what you do. And so that mindset is just really, really important. So,
well, it is. And you talked about earlier, kind of circling back, if we will, for a second, with the mindset and with habits and with attitudes. Wins, and I talk about this from time to time. And as a matter of fact, I think I put a video this morning about having a virtual win pile, just a concept I use. But it's a funny thing if you throw wins on a win pile, if you will. Personal belief, and I love your take on this because I may be all wet, but is wins just no wins. Wins beget wins, if you will. It doesn't matter if it's a personal win or a physical health and fitness win or business win or whatever. Wins all just like to get together in a pile of wins, and they just start compounding because it makes you feel better. It makes your mindset excited to go get the next win. The problem with that, and what we kind of hit on and made me think about it, is losses do the same thing.
mm-hmm.
And so circling back to bringing that back into play is being cognizant, I think, of the wins that we get, celebrate them, figure out why we won, because I think it's important. We always want to figure out why we lost, right? Because if you figure out why you lost, you just kind of converted that into a win, right? Or you extracted some win out of it. But you want to figure out what you did wrong if you lost. But I think it's equally important, right, to to go, why did I get this deal?
Sure.
What did I do right here?
Well, Randy, you're describing the number one thing I look for trying to get to every day, and that's momentum. I mean, momentum is, and I think you do get momentum by piling all those wins together. I mean, I'm a huge sports fan. Would like to have thought that I was a good athlete back in my younger years. Um, but you watch a sports team, and you're exactly right. I mean, they can get momentum going in the winning direction, but they can get it just as quickly going in that loss direction, and they just don't seem like they can do anything right. Well, one of the things also you see in sports is that a coach will come into an organization that's been failing, and they haven't changed a whole lot with team except for him. And he brings in an inspiration, he brings in a culture that brings about it and creates momentum because he starts he may be starting to count good practices, and then that leads to the good game.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to another good week of practice and another good game. And it's the same way in our personal lives and our business life, is that, momentum, what it is momentum is decreasing the things that keep us from moving forward. So we want to get rid of those habits that do not move us forward. And it's increasing those things that do move us forward. That's what momentum is all about. And so my big deal is that it's always being able to see what that is. Now, if you've got a great memory, that's fine. But I can almost tell you by looking at my calendar what I've done and what I haven't done.
Mm-hmm.
And if I've got momentum going in the right direction, I can tell you why. If I don't, I can probably tell you that too. And so that's the reason why I always talk about being able to assess, what you've done and why you are where you are. But you're right when you talk about the wins, putting all those wins together, and they do get to swirling together, and that momentum. I mean, there is nothing like being part of an organization that's got the momentum going in the right direction. It's almost like you can't stop it. And it's exciting. And it's not just about the success of the business. Sometimes it's the culture is just so good, and everybody gets along so well, and they care and they help, and it's that momentum that just pushes you forward. And you look up and realize that it's not because it didn't happen by osmosis. It happened because of
Right.
this process, that system, this person, and you just keep on moving it forward. And a big part of that too is making sure that we are focused on the right things, and maybe that's all the wins, the small ones and the big ones.
Yeah. Well, interesting, like you said, and back to your, you expect to win thing. How many times, bringing it back to a sports analogy, which we all like, is so many times teams that aren't anywhere near as talented as the other team wins because they expect to win. That's what they believe they're going to win. They walk into the game already have won, right?
Right.
Where if we see teams in sports do it all the time. They get behind, which it could be a small loss, right? And they start playing not to lose, right? Air quotes. And we start playing not to lose in sports, you're dead in the water. And I think that translates into our sales and business world too, right? If you start playing not to lose, then you're not doing all those things that would allow you to build the momentum to win. Is that makes sense?
I agree. I agree. And I think that what you said there is, if you get somebody to define expectation, somewhere in the midst of almost anybody's definition of what does it mean to have an expectation is it's a belief,
Mm-hmm.
small or large, but it's a belief in um, myself, my ability, the value I provide, um, So if we're not expecting to do well, whether it be as a team, as an individual, then maybe one of the problems with that is we don't have a true belief in ourselves, in our product, our service, the value we provide. Um, and it all, that is such a huge deal when it comes to your mental and in your mindset is that belief in who you are, and just doing the right thing sometimes is is a huge part of that expectation, and that belief is just, am I going to do the right thing? Do I have confidence that I'll do the right thing, that I can say the right thing at the right time? And so expectation and expecting to win. Zig Ziglar says that you can't expect to win unless you're going to prepare.
Right.
And that's a big part of it. Even with mindset. I mean, mindset, again, it doesn't just happen. And so if someone says, one of the things that I used to do as a young salesperson, somebody had given me yeah, I'm going to really show my age here. You remember those cassettes? Them plastic things that had the little like ribbon in the middle of it.
Yeah, they use the pencil to rewind them so they got all
Right.
messed up.
They gave me a set of those with Zig Ziglar, and the manager, who still is just a wonderful man and a great guy, and still a very close friend of mine today. But if he noticed that I was kind of down on myself, maybe I hadn't closed 2 or 3 sales in a row, he'd say, "Hey, have you listened to Zig lately?" Because he knew that you feed your mind with that good stuff, and you get back to believing in yourself again.
Right.
And so many times that's what leads. It's a bad mindset leads you to doubt and fear. But us old macho guys, you walk into a sales meeting today, and maybe business isn't really great, and you walk in and say, "Hey, I know what your problem is. All of you are afraid. Raise your hand if you're afraid," and everybody's going to say, "I'm not afraid of nothing."
Right.
Okay. Then why did you only make 2 calls yesterday instead of 10?
Right.
Why did you not follow up on all the 10 that you talked to last week? Well, it's because of fear. It's a lack of belief. It's all those things that say, listen, I feel fear, failure, rejection, whatever that it is, but you can correct that with good, positive information to help you get your mindset back up. And another thing is I think people blame their attitude and mindset on others. Having been in the automobile business, that's a business that's in a retail environment, and there's a lot of brutalness that goes on between management and I've just always had the belief that having a positive attitude and a good mindset is my responsibility alone.
Right.
Now, if I'm in leadership, I'm going to take on the responsibility to create an atmosphere that everybody can participate the same way. But I can't expect somebody else to do that for me. I've got to do that myself. Right. And whether it be reading a good book or listening to a cassette tape, or, nobody listens to a cassette tape today. But
a lot of people wouldn't know what that is. What are you guys talking about?
we listening to something good and positive that puts your mind back in the right place. Hey, listen, everybody out there, we all deserve to give ourselves a good mindset, to do the things to have. I'm telling you, I've been in this head right here when it's dark. I've been there after a big failure when I was doubting that I could ever do it again. And that's not a good place to be. And the big thing that I would just encourage people to do is just to make sure that, hey, that you dig in every day, and that you really make an investment of your time in building that mindset, making sure that you have positive information going in, and positive input in your life, so that what you deal with and what you feel like is good, and you can expect to win. So
Exactly. Love it. Well, Jim, that message right there, it resonates so well with me. The expect to win. Some people will say that's cocky. I don't think it's cocky. I think it's prepared. You know that you're confident enough in yourself and your abilities and your product line, your company, whatever the case may be, right? That I think this is the right deal for my customers. So, and I think I'm good enough to prevail in this conversation that they're going to understand that this is probably more times than not probably a good deal, and I assume we're probably going to put this together. That's always how I go into things, and I
sure,
just
sure,
feel like we're probably going to do this. Um,
right.
and well, this has been awesome. There's one thing, and I know you gave me almost 45 minutes already, 41 minutes. I appreciate. One thing I did make a notation of the big star yesterday that I want to touch real quick, or however long you want, but we talked about predictability, and I know it's a subject that you enjoy. Everything's predictable, right? Um,
Huge.
tell me how we can be more predictable in our day-to-day sales world. I know that's a
Well,
loaded, long answer question, probably, but
we'll make it. We've spent a long time talking about the first cog of that. So eh, I believe that in sales and in business that we have done a not a real great job uh, in making or teaching people how to make the business predictable. And when I say that, many people have run from sales because of commission,
mhm.
or business because there's, it's not secure, it's not stable income. Well, I'm one of those people that I learned really quick when I got in that I can't do this and have no money in my pocket. I don't enjoy the stress of having to make a sale to keep my wife and two little babies fed and in a home. I don't like that. So I had to learn how to plan, and I learned some ways to make business predictable. And I think that's what we have to teach. And there's a couple of things that mindset is one thing, skill development is another. That's huge. You got to learn your trade and what you do. You have to be a student of what you do. But the third component is something that some people say they can't stand, and that's the analytics. It's the analysis, knowing your numbers. Um, that's how you make it predictable. If you keep your mind right, you establish the skills that it takes to do the work, and then you keep a set of numbers regularly that you can look at, and then also determine what it is every day that you have to do to achieve what you need to achieve. And I always turn this into money because that's what it is. We all have a budget.
Mhm.
So, I'm going to ask somebody that I'm coaching to give me that number. What do you have to have, whether it be weekly, monthly, or annually? What do you have to have with your family to feel secure? And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that, and with the numbers, we're going to back that up to where you know that you got to take those skills and that mindset and do this every day, hit this number every day, and we're going to make it predictable so that you have a security in knowing that you can predict it. People say, well, I don't have a crystal ball. I can show you the crystal ball. Numbers don't lie. And invariably, if somebody's not hitting the number that they need to hit, but they say they're hitting the other number, something's gone, and you got to figure it out. But you got to keep up with your numbers. And I made a post the other day that I said, hey, I've had a lot of people tell me I just don't like numbers. Well, in business, that's like saying, uh, I like life, but I don't like to breathe. Um, you can't have both. You
Right.
can't be in business. You may have somebody else that handles those numbers for you, but you've got to know your numbers. You have to know them. And yes, predictability is, to me, is the one thing. You know, you can have a guy with a great attitude, but you want to run that attitude. Let him get behind on his and get in debt where he doesn't really know how to get out, or he doesn't know how to get where he needs to go. Um, that mindset's going to be worthless pretty quick because he's got to know. He has to know how to get from A to B. I have to know how to get there, and how do I do that? Well, we can put the process in place and the systems in place to where it's very easy to manage, and then it's up to them. It's up to you. You do if you can manage yourself to do that, then you'll hit your number. You'll be successful. Never seen anybody not be, um, based on hitting their metrics. But the other part of that is, Randy, is in order to do those things, mindset, skills, and making the analytics, it comes down to accountability. And the numbers keep you accountable, but you got to be accountable to yourself. You know, it's that self-management thing that says, yeah, I'm not going to tell anybody else, but I didn't do nothing yesterday. I've got to do better today, and I'm going to do better today, or I won't hit my number. And so it's a big accountability thing with me, and that's a whole another subject in another show.
Right on, right on. Well, Wes has got your website up there, folks. If they want to chat with you at some point, they can reach out to you at that website or follow you on LinkedIn. Or I suppose you're on social media everywhere, so
yeah, I've pretty well got on it everywhere.
Yep.
The old guy on social media, right?
There you go. Well, Jim, this has been every bit as good as I knew it would be. It was a great conversation. We went basically over 45 minutes already. I could have talked to you for another hour and a half, but
same here.
Well, awesome. Any parting words? Wes has got a favorite subject he likes to pop up every day. Should ask questions. This is your opportunity. What did I miss? You got a final salvo here. Is there something I should have asked? You're going, Randy, when are you going to ask me about this?
Man, I tell you what, you've done a fantastic job. I just appreciate the opportunity. I love talking to you. These are things that you get in business. If you listen to some of these things, that it just makes life so much easier. I was fortunate to have a mentor that taught me how important a positive attitude was in skills and watching my numbers. But some guys don't have that kind of leadership, and some guys and gals, and it's just all the things that are important to expect to win in life.
Exactly. So no, it's been awesome, and I love your the expect to win. I wrote that down all over my notepad. It's a mantra that I've always realized that's how I live, but
Sure.
I'm going to bring that to the forefront every day. I think that's something I'm going to say to myself every single day is expect to win. Right?
You bet.
It's not a bad thing. See, a lot of people. My parting thought on this is a lot of people they look at you talk about wins a lot. Name our show, Building Wins. Oh, you talk about wins. Wins, all about winning. Winning, as you said very early on, is all aspects of life, not just getting the big sale, right? Not just making a bunch of money. It's all the little things that go into play that make for a good, happy life, right?
Right.
And so why wouldn't you want to quote win, right?
Right.
And well, Jim, thank you, my friend. I greatly appreciate you being on, and it's been awesome. So Wes is going to pop you back in the green room. We'll chat for a minute if you don't mind hanging around. If you got about another 3 or 4 minutes, and I'm going to let folks know that Randy's Building Wins Live and Wes's Building Wins Live does go on because we got another one next Friday again. So what do you think, folks? Good stuff, right? Good stuff. Go back. There's going to be I think Wes will tell me he's making little notes. I can see him on my little computer here, and he's making little notes about some things that he's going to put sound bites on. I think we got a boatload again today, so awesome stuff with my friend Jim. I've got to know him over the past 6, 8, 10 months via social media, and I knew he'd be entertaining. I knew he'd bring the heat. and some really, really good stuff. So if you want to reach out to Jim, you know how to find him. If you can't find him somehow, shoot me a messenger and I'll get you in touch with him. So, but next Friday now, Heath Buller. Heath is a good young gun. I've known Heath in the metal roofing industry for a number of years. Heath and I are going to chat next week about, again, a little bit of the supply chain scenarios that's been going on. We had a good chat a few weeks ago with another good friend, John Marchand, about the same subject. We're going to get another little update because we want to stay timely on that, I think, for all of us in the metal roofing world. And he's a sales extraordinaire himself. He's a good guy. You're going to enjoy Heath. And so I'll be next Friday, 3 p.m. Don't miss it. So until then, remember, go, expect to win, seize the day, live it, love it, own it. Make today your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Cheers, my friends.